You're listening to the BIGCast Network. Join Big and On Approach June 11th through 14th in Minneapolis, Minnesota for the 2017 AXFI Conference. For more information, including our speaker lineup, visit www.axficonference.com. Use promo code BIGCast for 20% off your registration.
Hello everyone and welcome to this edition of the BIGCast. My name is John Best and I am the CEO of Best Innovation Group. We like to do cool things for credit unions and banks. You can check us out at bigfintechmedia.com. And I have the pleasure of having a British person once again on the show. And I have Sir James Guild from See You Engage with us. Hey, James.
Hey, John, how you doing? And the good news is I'm a double agent now, so I'm kind of one of you as well.
Oh, well, yeah, I know you're part of the world here now. But yeah, you were telling me a story when you first got here about IRAs. I thought that was pretty funny.
So I got here in '84. Went to work for a savings and loan, and my first job was behind the teller line, trying to figure out what was going on in this crazy world. And I kept seeing these IRA deposits, and I'm thinking, and I didn't know anyone in the country at the time, so I couldn't afford to tell someone that I had probably thought that I had discovered the funding for the Irish Republican Army. And
well, you could tell someone in Britain, MI6 or whatever would be excited
I don't
about
know,
that.
John, that stuff, I mean, you see what's going on with all these cyber attacks and different things like that. I could have been eliminated by Mickey Mouse just like that.
Yeah, no doubt. You could have upset some people.
I know, but I did believe I was going to be Sir or Lord once I uncovered that and turned it over.
Speaking of SNLs, you've had like a storied career in our space, right? You know, I remember I worked with you at PSCU for many years with Brendan McGinnis and you know, all the folks that were there. You know, I feel like I'm part of PSCU. I've been around it so long, but you've been some other places too, haven't you?
Yeah, so actually after the SNL, and obviously I did not cause the collapse, but after that I actually ended up running a division for Fiserv down in Tampa. And then you'll find this interesting. The .com world came about, and I actually started with a group of individuals, a company called remit.com. And we were actually the first people, we were out of Silicon Valley, we were the first people to do WAP transactions. We were a P2P player. It was us and PayPal back then, and guess what? They're there and we're not.
Oh,
and
I remember that Bucky brought, I think John Thompson and I came to visit you or talked with you, one of the two, way back then.
No, crazy time working with the VCs, both here, Taiwan, wherever. So yeah, that was my, that's probably as technical as I get there, John, with understanding what actually a WAP transaction is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, from there actually went to PSCU and really helped launch some of the different products to their existing credit unions. Back then, they were just a credit card processor. So needless to say, debit card, online banking, call center, prepaid, all the different products and services that they delivered. I actually left in 2010 to run the credit union business development side for, back then, Open Solutions, DNA. It was an interesting time for them. They were owned by the Carlyle Group, and great product. But from an ownership standpoint, obviously that all got sorted out, you know, with Fiserv in the end, and you know, the end of the Acumen debacle or whatever you want to say there. So unfortunately, Dave Sirlo at PSCU passed away, and I was asked by the team to join them as the chief sales officer. So stayed with PSCU until 2014 when Jennifer Adabo and myself, we started See You Engage with See You in our logo. Needless to say, that's all we do. We eat, dream, and sleep credit unions.
Yeah, I know. That was really cool because you and I kind of shot out of the gates at the same time. You know, I was working for Westcom, and I kind of saw a need to get out there and really try to produce innovation on behalf of the credit unions. And I remember early on, you and I connecting as you started and I started. So we're both, you know, 3.5 years later. Where are you at? Like, how's that going?
It's going.
I don't see you in a box there in the background here. So for our listeners, I'm doing a video one. This is my first video one, and so James is at his beautiful home in Tampa, right? You're still in
St. Petersburg, Florida.
Yeah, you're still at St. Pete, and there's, you know, you can see the palm trees. Meanwhile, I'm in my office, and you can see, like, you know, remnants of you know, my lamp behind me. But yeah, it doesn't look like you're doing bad. I don't see that you're in a tent or anything. you know?
No, moved out the tent. No, doing fantastic. We are a boutique kind of a consulting organization, again, built around credit unions. Our passion is credit unions. Our passion is helping those credit unions that really want to make a change and be relevant in today's world. So actually, big milestone today. We just actually announced that cumulatively, we've saved our credit unions $250 million over that term. And that kind of breaks down. We have about 75 different clients. And, you know, when we first started in 2014, EMV was the big thing that was going on. So a lot of people were looking at how do we align our processes and get the right partner. And if we're going to go through a reissue, you know, do we look at flipping from a Visa to a MasterCard? And, you know, the money is great, but it's all about the optimization and the relevance of those products as they push them out to their members. And so, yeah, it's great. 12 people. We've got people in Oregon, in Phoenix, and in St. Petersburg, and we continue to grow. And it's a lot of fun, John.
You know, same thing here. You know, I'm blown away by the blessing of the industry we're in. I think I'm up to 18 people, believe it or not. So you can't see them. They're not all in this room, but they're outside that door. And so,
yeah.
But yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I think it's such a necessary thing. You know, one of the things, as you and I were doing the pre-show notes here, we were talking about just the nature of the payments game, and particularly how it relates to digital. You know, from our perspective at Big, you know, we work with CUNA directly on policy as it relates to payments in their policy division. We work with lots of credit unions on payments, and as you know, I'm a bit of a payments guy. You know, payments nerd, I guess, is what you would call me. But you know, I've been blown away lately by some of what we leave on the table, and you and I were discussing that. So you were talking about that you and Dr. Dre have partnered now that he's gotten rid of the beats to do something. And so I'm very interested in how Dr. Dre plays into our payments piece, because he is a genius. I mean, selling beats to Apple, you know, hats off. So yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I think what, you know, made us start CU Engage in the first place is actually when we were there working with credit unions, and we worked with other consultants. And, you know, I'll say this, there are some great consultants, and there are others that we feel just focus purely on cutting costs. You know, I mentioned 250 million. 250 million is only important if you're increasing the member experience, the operational efficiencies. And ROI isn't just about cost savings. It's penetration, activation, usage. And by the way, even if you're talking about a credit card project, that goes across self-service, all of the different things. And you know, I know we're going to talk about some of your products in a minute, but you know, you want to take that friction out of it. You want to have the consistent feel. So, you know, we felt that how do we holistically look at all of the products and services from core? We don't do core evaluations, but we work with, in particular, Jack Henry and with Fiserv to a great extent, because all of this integration and relevance of bringing these products together rely on web services and APIs. So we started with the products themselves, with credit and debit card processing and evaluations and finding the right processes. We talked about Visa and MasterCard. We also spent a lot of time in the online banking space, and credit unions that perhaps have, you know, a online banking provider, a mobile banking provider. They've got several different mobile apps. It's like, how do you bring all this together? So, you know, just to use an example, last week I was at the co-op, you know, /TMG meeting. And they were
Were you at Think?
Yeah, it was a Think 17. Great event, seriously, where probably sat through, you know, 10, 15, 20 different, quote, digital presentations. They come from different angles. They've all got different accents. Some of them translate. And then the week before, I was at Visa, again, a great conference. You know, people from all over the world. I actually put on one of those headphones and felt like I was at the UN because of Japanese and South America, whatever. So, but the end result of this is that everyone's talking about it, but there's not a lot of people actually doing anything about it. And my analogy here, John, is that, you know, 5-10 years ago, you know, if you had a jigsaw puzzle and it had a bunch of different pieces in it, it's 5,000 pieces in it, and, you know, you put the corners together, you put the outsides together, you fill in the bit, but you're always looking at the picture on the box to figure out where things go. My analogy is that in today's world, it's a different picture, just like you said, through mobile apps and through voice response, Alexa, all of these different things. The picture has changed. And oh, by the way, the credit union needs to change in exactly the same way. So, if credit unions are still using the pieces and looking at the picture of the jigsaw puzzle from the past, they're staying in the world they've been in for a long time. And we love this expression. Sometimes they know what they know and they don't know what they don't know. So what we love doing is providing that outside in perspective on what can really make them relevant in today's world. Sometimes, we'll talk to credit unions and we'll talk about your members are consumers. And some of them will say, no, they're not, they're members. And I'm like, but yeah, they're using Uber, they're using, Amazon, they're using Starbucks, all of these top of app wallets. And what's interesting in the credit card space, and honestly, sometimes I get fed up hearing about the word millennials, because I'm like, the traits of a millennial, I actually feel good because I feel like I'm a millennial sometimes because of the traits. But, in the credit card world, 70% of the transactions, they say, for millennials are actually stored credit cards in apps like Uber. So for the credit union organization, if they're not hitting that, they're missing out on a large number of transactions. And this is where things like loyalty comes into play, because you've got to change that behavior. But going back to Dr. Dre and our good friend there, it really came up because we call it a digital readiness assessment. And by the way, it's not the answer as to what to do. It's to figure out how do you get going. Like going to the doctor and saying, hey, I want to get healthy. And there's a lot of different things you've got to do. And the first thing they'll probably do is send you for a blood test or blood test. We provide the blood test. We understand what the credit unions want to do from a strategic standpoint. In a lot of cases, we're drawing things out of them, strategies that back to, what you know and you don't know what you don't know. We're helping them align. We're helping if there's products and services that are key to their organization, if there's no accountability. Because guess what? One day back, ATMs were owned by finance and credit cards were owned by lending and online banking was IT. Well, guess what? Now you got to bring all these different, jigsaw pieces together and align them in a way that they're going to work. So we go in and we figure out, what are the most important pieces that you want to make sure that if you turn it upside down and look from the member lens, try signing up for a new account. Try figuring out and wonder why if you deposit a check at an ATM, you get a certain hold. If you do it,
so it's confusing to people. They don't understand it. Well, it's interesting you say all that, because that's exactly kind of, you've seen my presentations. I know you've sat through them. I think my big slide in the middle of all my presentations, I always say, if you take nothing away from anything else I've said, take this away, that digital is not a product, it's a discipline, and analytics will be a discipline as well. And so, but I'm going to do something here. I'm going to share my screen because you said something I thought was very interesting. So let's pop out to a screen here real fast. And I'm going to switch over. There was something you said. So have you ever been to developers.mastercard or developer.mastercard, or, you were talking about APIs and web services, right?
Yeah.
And so recently I've been really poking around in the, well, you got to spell developer right, inside of these platforms. Do you know how much stuff is in here that people could implement? It blows me away. So I'm going to let this come up for a second, but I've been going through this. But one of the things you said was APIs and web services. And I'm not sure that all of my audience knows what that means. I take it for granted. You take it for granted. But, give me your simple Dr. Dre explanation of a web service and or a API.
Yeah. So again, coming from a non-technical person that lives in a technical world,
and that's why I'm asking you, because I know my version would just be like, "Shut up, John." So.
Yeah. So our good friends, one of our clients, State Department out of DC, they call APIs and web services the power tools of integration. And, it really is the ability to take data. And, we talk about credit card, and in the old days, you kind of logged on and you looked at your data and you went to one app or one site for this information. And then you went with an online banking platform. It's like, how do we suck everything? BECU, for example, is a great organization of taking everything and putting it in their format through these APIs, web services. And again, it actually has a huge economic advantage to the credit unions too. And from a member experience standpoint, your products and your services look like yours and not somebody else's. And not that they're bad apps, by the way. It's just, why confuse your member and make them go somewhere else and think, oh, is this State Department or is this Founders or is this Citadel or whomever?
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah. So that's my simplest form from my Dr. Dre point of view.
I think it's very valuable. And, I think you can see my screen, right? So for our listeners, I'm looking at developer.mastercard.com/APIs. And these are things that I didn't log in to get to. I mean, if you're using, Visa has the same thing. But you can see there's, Assurance IQ provides assurance that consumers are transacting digitally using genuine attributes, location services, lost and stolen accounts, market insight services. Mastering, this is like digital kung fu here, right? If you can get all mastered with your digital kung fu, you could make this stuff really, really work for you. MDES is actually their tokenization process, which, that's part of what I'm seeing here is this opportunity. Then the next thing you said that I found very fascinating was Uber, right? So I saw this in the news the other day. I'm going to bring it up here and we'll talk about it. So American Express offers rewards if you put their card in Uber.
Yeah.
And so let's look at that. So I know there's going to be some sort of Amex Uber. Here it is. So I'm just going to bring this link up. It talks about how you get $200 for Uber rides if you have a platinum and you put the platinum inside of Uber. Plus you get 2x points and you become a Uber VIP. I don't know what that means. Does that mean if you're an Uber VIP, does he pick you up and put you in the car like a ride or something?
Yeah, he's got a hat on. He's got white gloves on. Yeah. And you better be enjoying that. So when we were talking in the opening, I said to you this. I said, if I was calling one of your client credit unions and I said, hey, I need a 10-day payoff for my car loan, I would get transferred over to a lending person and they'd be like, hey, what you doing, John? Where you at? Down at the dealership. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. So what's going on down there? They would be trying to save that business. But let's say I was using, that credit union's credit card to buy all my tickets to fly United. Yeah. And suddenly I stopped. Yeah.
Would anybody call me?
Probably not. And just to give you an example, this actually happened to me, John, when we started CU Engage. I actually moved from my Delta Amex card, where I was one of these, probably the VIP with the gloves that, got the car that took me from one gate to another at Atlanta to going Southwest. We charge our clients for our travel, and obviously we want to charge them as little as possible. So I went from a diamond, titanium, whatever, to a zero.
Wow.
Now, and not only was that the airline, but it was also Delta's American Express. Since then, 3.5 years later, I probably put, I don't know, $1,000 a month on an Amex right now. I try and spread it around because I like to look at the experience, but not one call. So you're bang on, and they are missing out. Not only are they missing out, but as you say, the credit unions and the change in technology that's transactions are happening in different ways.
Well, and you mentioned something else I thought that was really important. You said, the new consumers, we're seeing the rise of the merchant wallet, right? So, about our AXFI conference, right?
Yeah.
It's coming up. I think you're going to be there, if I remember.
I will.
Yeah. So you saw that I have Chuck Davison coming. So Chuck is speaking. Chuck is the guy who was one of the main players at Starbucks to invent their mobile app, and a good friend of mine. And we've been talking about how the bank wallets failed, but the merchant wallets are rising. And you mentioned SVC, right? So let's give everybody what that term means. It means stored value. What's the C for? Card, I guess. I think it's for card, but
let's go with that.
Yeah, and it isn't really a card in the digital platform, but just to bring it up to take a look at, and we're going to get really crazy here. This is going to be a very different one of these. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share real fast something I want you to take a look at, and we'll talk our members on the podcast through it, so you know. But I'm going to bring up my my app here, and I want you to see something. I want to get your opinion on it, because what it's really doing in my mind is it's transferring that wealth elsewhere in a way that is concerning to some extent. And so if it is that, let's say that, and by the way, I'm not afraid of story value cards at all. As a matter of fact, I think our fear of them is irrational and we have to be careful not to. But so I'm going to bring up, have you ever been to this? There's this new restaurant that I really like and big fan of it. I don't know if you've been to it. It's called Chicken Filet, I think is the name of it. It's kind of semi-popular. It's also it's my favorite digital app. So I'm going to share my screen here and bring this up so that you can see it. And I want to talk about it just for a second. Let's just talk through the app a little bit. So for the listeners, if you want to watch this, it's actually going to be on video. So, but you should be able to see my screen. Are you able to see the thing I'm showing right now?
Yep, I got it.
So let's go to the Chick-fil-A app real fast, you and I. So by the way, I love this app, but let's talk about why, because I got a question from someone the other day. They're like, why the heck would I pay? Why would I want to use an app to pay? And I don't think that's the misunderstanding that's in the Crayon space right now. So are you seeing the app?
Yep, no, I got you.
So the first thing I'd point out as to why I would pay is it's got this loyalty mechanism that you mentioned. So I'm going to go into this My Treats, right? And you can see I'm in the home stretch of getting some free food, right? And it also shows me my my available treats if I scroll up, which at this point is nothing. But, you know, about every now and then I get a free chicken sandwich, you know, or a free something. So that's
by the way, I got stuck on the 1,210 calories in that sandwich.
Yes. Yeah. That which one? The Chick-fil-A Deluxe? Look, stop looking at the calories, James. God, what's wrong with you? But then the other reason I think people do it is this, right? So you can actually order ahead, right? So I can go in and start my order and pull into the parking lot, not go through the drive-through line. And you can see it's giving me the closest one up here. You see the top there where it says North Academy. And then if I go in and say, I want breakfast, and I add this to my cart and do the whole thing, they'll actually, when I pull up, you know, go ahead and have this. So there's a reason for, you know, people using these things. And so I think that's what people are missing is you can see how easy it is. Plus, the reason the retailer wants to do this, and this is actually a published stat. I don't know if you've seen this, but Taco Bell has published that when someone uses the app, it's actually, they actually get a 20% more on the ticket. I believe it. So I
mean, you want to use it, right?
Right.
I mean, my business partner, Jen, she lives every day picking up a Starbucks. She goes into her app, she puts it in. Most of the time, because it's quicker than going through the drive-thru, she runs in. She feels guilty because she thinks people are she's stealing people's coffee because she's going and getting it. Thank God it's got a name on it. And she's out. She's out in like 30 seconds where everyone else is sitting there. So again, it makes you want to do it. It's actually... I heard a term the other day, instead of member experience, it was actually emotional experience. And John, I do believe that you are suffering. This is Dr. Dre talking from a severe case of emotional experience right now.
Look, leave me alone. I like my Chick-fil-A, okay? But look at the screen here to your point. Look, so at the bottom here, if you're looking at the screen for our listeners, it says at the top, it says, it knows I have an order and it wants to know, hey, where will you pick this up from? And it picked the closest one to me, which is just down the street. And then over here it says, do I want to pick it up as carryout or curbside? I mean, curbside experience. But then the final piece, and this is what you were mentioning, and I think it's probably the most important to understand, is how you pay. Everybody thinks this is some sort of wizardry, but I mean, you pull up to the drive-thru, you hold this thing out. You can see, which by the way, I'm going to have to blur this out when I do it so nobody takes my Chick-fil-A. But, you know, you can see there's a QR code here and it tells me how much I have. But look where it says right there. See where it says add funds to the card?
Yeah.
This is where we got to win, right? So if we say we're going to transfer $100 and we want to set up this new card, you know, we've got to get people, we got to reduce this friction for getting these cards in there. And so one of the things I wanted to ask you, because you do a lot of these, besides the Dr. Dre business that you do, and I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down. You also do a lot of help for people who are doing, you know, conversions, right? Who are going from, say, Visa to MasterCard or however they're doing it. And my question is, how much of this business, this card not present business, do they lose as they jump from thing to thing? And are they taking that into account, similar to the United question I had?
Yeah, so I think the answer to your question is I don't believe they are, and I don't believe that. And again, there are some credit unions that are. So this is not,
Yeah, so it's not. It wouldn't be universal no matter how you do it. But yeah.
no. But I truly believe the number of transactions that they are losing because of that no one is keeping their eyes on. What you said before is just an immense amount. And what frustrates me is that, and we try to help our credit unions with this, is that when you go through a negotiation for, a new processor and different things, you tend to negotiate on the things you understand, i.e. the easy things, transaction fees, different things like that. But when you really look at what's going on behind the scenes, whether it be the PIN networks, whether it be, the income and the interchange that you're picking up, whether it's, leveraging other things that you're using other people's ATM instead of having people go to cashback at point of sale. Optimization of those types of transactions are nobody's looking out for them. And I love this term. I don't think it's anybody's day job.
Right. It isn't. It absolutely isn't. It's no one's day job. I think that's exactly right. And the concern I have is, and you and I were talking about this, is that's death by 1,000 cuts, right? It's not something that's going to show up all of a sudden next week, or all of a sudden the month after that, or even all of a sudden in a year. But the average income, or the average percentage of income, non-interest income for a credit union for interchange is somewhere around 26%, right? So that's a huge concern. So one of the things I wanted to share with you, and I know you had looked at it a little bit. We've developed something called Set It Credit, and it's actually, I think a really good thing for anybody that's, just using it all together. But that's the whole point. I like to think of it as interchange management as a service, right? We want to make sure that your card stays in United. We want to make sure your card stays in that Chick-fil-A app. We want to make sure that your card stays in these places. So it's not enough just to encourage them. It's, it's also, you got to curate that data, right? You got to really push it, because I think that we sort of just go, debit cards, yeah, they make us money. It's sort of a consistent 26%, but that could change, particularly with these apps, because we fought so hard to be top of wallet. And if, you remember the whole top of wallet game, you and I went through this at PSU, right? Yep. My goal was to get Sir James Guild, the knighted James Guild, to roll through through his grocery store. And when he got his wallet out, we wanted him to use his, Suncoast or GTE or whatever card, we wanted to pick that card. But it's a whole different game when you're talking about the apps. It's not the same thing. And so, from my perspective, that's something they got to play with. So we've actually invented Set It Credit, which I think I've shown you before. I'll pull it up real fast. But the whole point of it is just to it allows people to push their cards into these platforms. But the part that I'm missing that I feel like you could help with a lot is we got to figure out a way to get people to really look at giving these points like what Amex did. How do we get to that point? How do we get it to where we can set up these programs? Is that really super hard, or is that something a credit union can make a decision to do right now?
You know what? The word, rewards, loyalty, we see a big change going on because, we're talking about credit right now. But we tend to look at, instead of rewards, which were driven around an ROI, right? They were driven around, a CFO would say, we don't want rewards because it costs us money. But guess what? You need rewards to compete against, the 50 million things that come through your mailbox every month, where Chase is giving $500, Southwest. I mean, when we started up our organization, we have some different DBAs. American Express has not given up on me. And I feel that when I get an application in the mail, if I rip it in half, I'm safe. So I have this habit of every single one I get, including the American Express ones, which are this thick. They're built on beautiful paper. God knows what it costs them each time they do it, but they have not given up. They probably send 5 of them a month to me. No joke.
Really?
And Southwest is the same, but there's a reason that they're doing it, and it's all tied to rewards, loyalty. But my point being is we have to change rewards and loyalty into changing someone's behavior, not just on credit, not just on debit, but push them to e-statements, push them to, if you do 5 bill pay transactions this month, we'll give you these points. Use it as a currency and not just on credit and debit, which, by the way, is a huge piece of that. So I'm not trying to downplay credit and debit. But to your point, you're bang on there, John.
Yeah, and my concern about this as I look at people rolling into this, is that we've got to find a way to do this quickly, because I like where you're going with this. By getting people to use e-statements, what we're doing is we're getting them to really think about reducing their costs so they can create wealth. Hey, there's you and Jen.
Yeah.
I'm on the See You Engage.
That's when I was eating your 1,200 calorie chicken fillet.
Yeah, I've been eating those too. I like to go right after the gym. It makes me feel good. But to your point, I think that that's key, right? We have to develop a way to create the income offsets to start doing the digital stuff. So on top of
actually, click on that last link, the one you went to there. Go to Summit.
Okay,
you'll love this. So this is an event that we're doing. Actually, you mentioned them earlier at GTE next week.
Oh, cool.
Suncoast will be there. Grow will be there. Mid Florida will be there. A number of different credit unions are in there. And this whole summit is really about how do you take digital readiness and actually put it into action. And I don't want to spoil this for some of the people going next week, but part of this is actually going to be a workshop. We did one up in DC with, let's just say, a credit union that may be, up at 30 billion down to credit unions that are, 200, 250 million, trying to get them to really assess where they're at. And this executive summit that we're going to be doing them around the country, is just a fantastic way of actually, it's going to sound awful, but it's almost like going to Alcoholics Anonymous.
AA it is. It's Dr. Dre's AA. I like it.
Dr. Dre's AA. But the point being, if they can say, because I truly believe that if you ask the credit union CEOs, what keeps them up at night, it's all the stuff that they don't know what to do. And it kind of churns away. And back to my 85% know they need to be doing something. Only 15% of them are actually doing something. It's like, we want to help them get started. We want to do kind of like the Nike, just do it. You've got to start somewhere. And it's such a vast topic that you can, die by 1,000 ninja cuts, back to your ninja guy. Or you can actually start doing something. So we're excited.
I think you got to just put one foot in front of the other. I really do.
Yeah,
and I think things like this are really, really good. And I'm really glad that you're out there doing this for the industry and pushing people forward. For those of you listening, I'm at cuengage.com, Credit Union Executive Summit 2017. It's going to be May 23rd at GT Financial in Tampa. Actually, that is a former Almada for me, as you know. I used to work there. Great storied credit union. And still a great storied credit union. So glad to see that you're there with them. I think that we're both kind of on the right track here in the sense of what we expect and where we're going with this. And I think that both of us know that something's got to change. And I'm super excited that we're finding this opportunity out here for our groups to pull this together. And I do hope that I'm looking forward to seeing you at AXFI. I'd like you to track down Glenn Sarvati, our payment specialist. And for you guys, I'd love to hear you two banter back and forth. I hope that you'll find him and be one of the interviews. I also thank you for being my first video interview. It was entertaining for me, at least. And it's not so much better to actually have someone I see on the other side of the phone. So that was really cool.
Well, thanks. I hope it will be memorable. So, thanks.
so if people are looking for you on Twitter, if they're looking for you on the web, if they want to email you, if they heard this podcast and go, look, I got to get me some Dr. Dre, how do they find you? Where do they go?
Yeah, go to cuengage.com or jguild at cuengage.com. On Twitter, under cuengage, LinkedIn, Facebook, huge Facebook users. We chat a lot too. I know a good friend of both of ours, Kirk Drake, Credit Union 2.0.
Yep.
And it's like, we truly believe that, the convergence of social and all this is going to come in together. So you can find us. We're out there. You'll find us.
Well, and at the AXFI conference coming up in June 11th through June 14th, it's interesting. We'll both be in Tampa at the same time. I'll actually be in Tampa next week as well.
Good.
I'm actually speaking at the CFO Council for CUNA. And I'm also going to spin by and visit my friends at Suncoast, my original alma mater. And also do some work in our Tampa office, which is where those 18 people are. James, I've been waiting. I know we had to reschedule this a few times. I'm so excited I finally got you on.
Thank you.
I think we're really kind of thinking the same way here, and I'm so appreciative that there are others out there who are pushing the same initiatives as we are. So thank you for joining us. Thanks
for having me, John. You take care, okay?
All right.
Got a question or want to join the conversation? We'd love to hear from you. Tweet us at Big FinTech. Email us at info@big-fintech.com or visit our show notes and comments at www.bigfintechmedia.com.